Good evening. Thank you for taking the time today in order to join me, Eric Hale, the Executive Principal for the Academies of Bryan Station High School. Regarding our return to in-person learning, starting with our 9th and 12th graders next Monday, for the families that have chosen the in-person return. And then the following week, on the 15th of March, the 10th and 11th graders that will be joining the 9th and 12th graders that we will have in the building. So we are extremely excited for the opportunity to be able to educate your child in person. And again, I want to thank you for joining me this evening. I do have a couple of helpers, some guests with me. I have our Academy coach who will be helping with the technology portion of the presentation tonight. And then also our school nurse, Nurse Erin Perry, who's the best in the business, and she will be able to answer some questions at the end as it relates to any type of healthy protocols, as it relates to the sick room or just standard day-to-day, healthy at school questions that students or parents may have. Couple pieces of information here real quick. So as we go through the slideshow, as you can see in the top right corner, we do have a place for you to submit questions in the bit.ly BSHS Town Hall. Please make sure that as we go through the show tonight, that if there's a question that you may have as it relates to any information that's on here or anything that may not be included on this presentation, please submit those questions there. We will do our best to answer those questions at the end of the presentation and hopefully be able to give you the information necessary to help clear things up. If there's something specifically related to your child, we will be very mindful of the fact to not discuss it in an open meeting or an open forum. And we will definitely, though, once you leave your contact information, we will make sure that we have an answer for you as soon as possible, and we get back to you, with the information necessary to help answer your question. So, first slide that I want to go over is a huge resource that we have here at the Academies of Bryan Station. If you wouldn't mind, Ms. Epley, to click on the Station U student website. So, the Station U student website is a one-stop shop for all questions, all information as it's related to the return to in-person instruction information, virtual learning expectations, communication, technology, Canvas, which is our LMS that all of us, unless you're new just here recently, should be familiar with. Canvas help is there. We also have forms, and then we also have important links that are critical, pieces of information that you can go to in order to see if there's anything there that may answer any questions or concerns that you may have, as a parent or student. So one of the things with that Station U site, I do want to give a shout out to our technology department and Ms. Cohn for putting a fabulous one-stop shop site for our families and our students in order to access information that what's been going on over the last several months for the 2021 school year. Additionally, to view the slideshow, I want to make sure on the top right, if you want to view the presentation, the bit.ly is there for you as well. So not only can you ask questions with the BSHS Town Hall, but also you can view this presentation with the bit.ly BSHS Town Hall slide. So the agenda for this evening: what to do before school, preparing for school, arrival and dismissal, while at school, what it looks like, summer school opportunities. I want to make sure, although we're just now into March, I want to make sure that parents and families are familiar with what we are looking at offering from a summer school standpoint. And then at the very end, I want to reference the Fayette County Public Schools guidance booklet that is public facing. It's on the district's website. So I want to make sure that you all have a link to access the work that's been put in from the district front. All right, so what to do before school and what to bring to school. So in person. First of all, before school starts, so I know the district technology department has pushed out the following forms digitally to all of our families. That would include the acceptable use policy, health assurance form, fee waiver request, FERPA opt-out, media opt-out, and Title I home and school compact. So all those forms have been pushed out to our families via Infinite Campus. However, if you have not received that information, you can click on the fcps.net/page 17481 there. And once you click on that, there's the digital forms on the left. This would be in English. They actually have multiple languages in order for our families to be able to fill out the forms. And please visit this site to click on a form and fill it out so we have that information prior to your student returning to school for us. All right, preparing for school. So here we go. Student should bring with them a mask. So this is a mask that should cover your nose and mouth. I want to reiterate here on the mask piece, and I'll get into it in a minute about defining it as a mask versus, I know the gaiters are real popular, scarves are real popular to put over as face coverings, but we are recommending that it's a mask that does cover the ears. So that way, as we covers your nose and your mouth, hooks onto your ears, so we can ensure safety from a mask wearing standpoint. Okay, so besides the mask, what you should also bring to school is your school issued Chromebook. Now, I know that we may not have our school issued Chromebook at the house at this time. You may have one personal device that you are working from, and that's okay. But when you come to school, and later on in the presentation, we'll discuss the technology piece, but we will be expecting the school issued Chromebook to be brought to school daily for the remainder of the year. Chromebook compatible headphones. So please, again, mask, Chromebook, and your Chromebook compatible headphones. Their ID on a lanyard worn around their neck while on campus. So of course, all of us have a lanyard with an ID. Our students will get those on day one, and we will be expecting you to wear those on a daily basis as you enter our school for safety purposes. A water bottle. So water fountains will not be available throughout the day for use, clearly to try to help prevent the spread of germs. But we do have water bottle filling stations throughout the building that will be provided to our students and staff in order to fill up their water bottles in order to have a sip to drink throughout the day. All students will be provided one water bottle from the Fayette County Public Schools. And last but not least, make sure that not only would you bring your school device, but it must be fully charged every day. That will absolutely be an expectation that we have here at Bryan Station High School, is for our students to come daily with a fully charged school issued device. Mask, mask, mask. All students and staff are required to wear masks over nose and mouth, as was mentioned earlier. No bandanas or gaiters are permitted at all times while on campus, in the building, or on the bus. There are medical exemptions that must be submitted to the school in writing on the official letterhead of the physician, pediatrician, or psychologist office and signed by a medical professional. Be aware that there could be students, clearly, if there's medical exemptions, that could be in classrooms on our bus who have mask exemptions, and we will make accommodations accordingly to those exemptions. Students and staff should only lower their mask while actively eating or drinking in the building. Masks will be provided for students or staff members who do not have one. So if you do not have a mask, the district, Fayette County Public Schools, has provided enough masks to support our students and our staff here at the academies of Bryan Station High School, and we will be able to provide masks if you do not have one. Please, ahead of time, if you know right now you do not have a mask, please contact the school and we can arrange for you to get one of the masks that have been allocated for every student in our building. Practice healthy habits. Healthy habits while at school. Students will be encouraged to avoid touching their eyes, their nose, their mouth. Even more importantly, please stay home when you're sick. If you have any type of symptoms such as cough, stomach aches, whatever it may be that you are showing any type of illness, please stay home and err on the side of caution from a safety standpoint. While at school, obviously cover coughs or sneezes with a tissue, then throw the tissue in the trash and sanitize or wash your hands. Frequent hand washing will be expected and encouraged while here at school. Hand cleaning supplies, including hand soap, air dryer, and hand sanitizer, will be readily available on buses, in classrooms, and throughout school grounds. Each classroom has been provided PPE necessary in order for our faculty and staff to be able to keep their hands clean while in our building. Social distancing. It is important for all students and staff to practice social distancing while on campus and in the building. The distance we are recommending, according to the CDC, is the 6 feet. Do our best to stay as socially distanced as we can from a 6 feet standpoint. Clearly, we know that with all kids in a building at some point in time, that will be a challenge at times, and we will space to the extent as possible, which leads me to the next bullet point. So if space does not allow for 6 feet of spacing, desks and or tables will be arranged to distance to the extent possible. All students in classrooms will face in the same direction, and stickers are posted on the walkways and hallways to mark a safe distance for transitioning. Again, the district's provided us with 6 feet stickers that we have put throughout our building to remind as a visual cue for all of us to try to maintain social distance while we navigate our school building. Arrival and dismissal. So these are two huge pieces to the day. First thing is, if you're a bus rider, so if you need to find your bus route, here's the link. It is on the Fayette County site. If you are like, okay, where's my bus route and information that I need to find out? So we do have an info finder for bus route. Please make sure that you click on the link. You go to the website in order to type in the information necessary to figure out which bus you are riding. So here at Bryan Station, buses will unload in the bus lot. For those of you that are familiar with where the bus lot is and have ridden the bus, it is in the back. Ms. Apple, you could go back. I get skip slide. There we go. Buses will unload one at a time to allow for appropriate social distancing and allow students who have been identified to have a fever or other COVID-19 symptoms to be escorted to our sick room. All bus riders will proceed to our 500 doors and will go through the screening conducted at that location from a temperature check standpoint and also metal detectors, which we'll get into in just a minute. Students will be reminded continuously to keep their mask and badge on and maintain appropriate social distance as they wait outside, and as we enter the building, there will be verbal cues to remind students continuously about maintaining social distance and wearing their mask and badge. Car riders. So car riders will proceed to the building to enter via the front door or the 500 hallways. If you drive and you are a driver, you would go to the car lot, which those of you that have driven before is in the back lot, and you would enter the 500 hallway doors. If you are a car rider and you are being dropped off, we recommend that you drop off in the front of the building because it will help us with congestion and traffic backup in the 500. And so we're trying to split our students up as much as possible to help enforce the safety protocols and make sure that they are, that they're followed, and for us to be able to have a safe distance between our students. So students will be reminded to keep their mask and badge on and maintain appropriate social distance as they enter the building. Walkers will enter via the front doors and 500 hallway as well. Students will be reminded to keep their mask and badge on and maintain appropriate social distancing as they wait to come in the building, and building will open at 7:55 a.m. Student badges and metal detector. All students are expected to wear badges. First day, students will receive their badges in their advisory and flex course. So we understand students will not be entering the first day of school with their badges, but from that moment on, we expect badges to be worn daily. Students without badges moving forward after the first day and after they receive their badges will report to the Wellness Center, which is as you enter the 500 hallway and wing before proceeding to the metal detectors. It's the same process that was used in years past, and we will be enforcing that protocol and process moving forward. All students will enter via the front doors or 500 hallways and will proceed to metal detectors after passing through the temperature screening area. Let's go to dismissal. So the beginning of the day, wanted to make sure that we had a picture of what it looks like. So now what does dismissal look like? Dismissal will be staggered so we can help with social distancing and being able to enforce those protocols. Dismissal will also be by zones of the building. So we have 5 different zones in a building that we will be dismissing by, and that way it allows for social distancing, a staggered dismissal, and we're not putting all of our kids in the hallway at dismissal time together. It'll be a staggered dismissal. Dismissal will be by intercom. So clearly as we dismiss zones, we will announce that over the intercom for our students and faculty. Students not riding the bus. So if you are, a car rider, please, you should plan for your transportation for the end of the day, no later than 3:30 to be picked up. Now, if you stay after school for an extracurricular activity, we know those have been able to continue on for our students. And then also any co-curricular activity that may be taking place. It will be required and expected that you report immediately to your assigned location and follow all Healthy at School protocols. While at school, what's this look like? School hallways are marked with floor stickers to designate social distancing requirements. Students will walk on the right side of the hallways and stairs and maintain social distancing. And again, stickers on the floor, verbal cues, signage, we have all that in the hallways. And like I said, our faculty and staff will be reminding students of those verbal cues of maintaining our distance while we're in our space. Restroom. Signage will be placed in bathrooms illustrating proper hand washing techniques and marking appropriate social distancing. And our facilities will be cleaned and disinfected, our bathroom facilities, every 30 minutes. E-pass system. So we know the natural times of students being in the hallways, arrival, dismissal, when the bell rings, going to lunch. So we also know that there are other times that require students to be in the hallway. So for students who need to leave the classroom, we are utilizing an e-pass system. So all students will be issued a digital e-pass through our online EOS system, and this will aid with contact tracing. Students will also have a paper pass to indicate they have permission to be in the hallway. And to learn more about the EOS system, visit the bit.ly below, which is EOS for Parents. Breakfast. So when we arrive in the morning, students eating breakfast will pick up their breakfast in the cafeteria and then proceed directly to their flex and advisory classrooms to eat breakfast. Students will social distance in lines. Students will remain in their seats in the flex advisory while they eat. And when students finish eating, they'll collect and discard their trash in the designated locations. Lunch. Lunch is a big one. Students will be spaced out to the extent possible. Students will select a seat and remain in that seat during the entire lunch period. Students will be required to log their seat number each day using a QR code, which we have videos that we're sending out to our families in order to document our seat number that we are sitting at as a student. That'll be, that's your assigned seat sitting, and being able to log that with a QR code. Custodial crew will sanitize surfaces after each lunch. Students are not permitted to eat lunch in a classroom. I had a couple meetings with some student leaders in our building, and one of the questions was, well, what if I don't want to eat in the cafeteria? And so for social distance or for safety purposes and being able to document where our students are located, all students will be required to eat in the cafeteria and our overflow areas that we have here. Students will social distance in the lines. Students will keep their mask on until seated and wear the mask while transitioning to the trash, restroom, or exit. Students will not line up at the door. So again, we know lunch will look different. If we don't know that, then we need to be thinking about it right now that it'll look a little different. And that's okay, because we have to ensure the safety of all in the building. So the only time we anticipate masks being removed is while we are eating or drinking. Class schedule. Our advisory and flex is 8:25 to 9:05. Our first block begins at 9:10. Our second block begins at 10:35. Third block begins at noon, and fourth block begins at 1:55. These times have been pretty consistent throughout the school year. That is our class schedule for the 2021 school year. Lunch. So we have 5 lunches here at the Academies of Bryan Station. As you can see here, first lunch will begin at 11:55. We will have our lunch, and then we have a 3-minute cleaning and disinfecting time between each lunch. So we will definitely walk kids through the first few days of what lunch will look like, and also the expectations with the bells. So we know that during lunch, bells have a tendency to make that may trigger you to get up out of your seat when you're in the classroom. But we will be very, very mindful about making sure that our students understand the expectation of the spacing between each of the lunches, that we have here at school. So last lunch, fifth lunch, ends at 1:50, and that is our lunch schedule for the day. Technology. We are very blessed that our district purchased all students in the Fayette County Public Schools to have access to a Chromebook. So if you would like to know the full plan, the full technology plan, please visit our bit.ly at BSHS 121 for students in order to get the information. Ms. Epley, could I click on that just to give them an idea of what it looks like? So here it is. I mean, it's all encompassing. If you have, as it relates to device information, student responsibilities, using a Chromebook, alternate technology plan for students, and then we also have Appendix A and Appendix B. And so every bit of information that you can think of as it relates to technology and our plan here at the Academies of Bryan Station High School is available through this site. And again, shout out to our technology department for putting this together. All right, so technology. Students will be provided a Fayette County Public Schools Chromebook and charging cable when they enroll in Bryan Station High School. Unless the Chromebook and charging cable is damaged or lost, no required Chromebook related fees will be assessed. Students and parents will sign a one-to-one agreement acknowledging the proper use of the device and the potential replacement fines that are associated with it. Students will be held responsible for maintaining individual Chromebooks and keeping them in good working order. Students who are experiencing any issue with their Chromebook and or charging cable need to report the issue immediately. Please make sure that, we absolutely notify our technology department and the help desk if there is an issue that comes up with your device. If a student is experiencing trouble at school, they should ask a nearby staff member for help and then report to room 102 if further help is needed. And the last bullet here, the school understands that many students in grades 9 through 12 may already have a personal device that they use at home for academic purposes, and that's okay. However, those devices are not permitted while here at school. We need to make sure that we have our Fayette County Public Schools Chromebook device while here at school in person. It is the student's responsibility to make sure Chromebooks are charged overnight. Charging in classrooms will not be permitted unless there has set up a designated charging station for students. If a teacher chooses to set one up in their classroom, students will not be permitted to sit at the charging station while their Chromebook is charging. There are charging stations located in common areas in the school building, cafeteria, media center for students to use throughout the day. Clearly, if we're needing to charge our device, we're trying to space out as much as possible because safety and healthy protocols are priority. So we need to make sure that that we understand. That's why if you use a charging station, you can't just congregate by that charging station. It's for safety purposes. Students are asked to bring headphones to school with them to use their Chromebook if possible. There will be earbud headsets available to purchase if you do not have headphones, and they are purchased in the Media Center for $2 each. Students are not required to have headphones for schoolwork. However, for asynchronous classroom activities that include sound, they're highly recommended to optimize the experience. And last but not least, if a student has forgotten his or her Chromebook at home, there'll be a limited number of Chromebooks available to check out during the school day in room 102. And by checking out the Chromebook for the day, the student is agreeing to return it by the end of the day, or there may be a fine for that. And then also, clearly, if it would continue on, you may lose that privilege of being able to borrow one for the day, and also, potential disciplinary action. Now, clearly, we're not trying to do that, but obviously, we have to be good stewards of the technology that we were, given by our district, and we want to make sure that we take good care of it and we're very responsible with it. So, technology is a huge piece to not just what we've been doing for the last 11 months, but also moving forward. And with that being said, I want to touch on what does remote learning versus in-person learning look like. This document has been pushed out through multiple means of communication, but I want to look over it here with you all in our meeting. So in-person looks different than remote learning, and that's okay. We know it's going to look different. We have a lot of safety protocols that we are absolutely taking priority and that we are enforcing as a school. So we know that, with our students and our families that have trusted us with the in-person learning option here at the Academies of Bryan Station, we know that we have to enforce safety protocols while your child or you as a student are here with us. So in-person learning, students clearly will have an AB block rotation. The Healthy at School protocols will be followed while students are here. However, I want to make sure that we know too that in-person or remote, we're still utilizing our Canvas LMS, and our lessons will be posted on Canvas for each class as they have been for the last 8 months or 6 months, 7 months. And they will be moving forward. They will still be posted on the Canvas site for both remote and in-person students, and students will have access to those lessons by Sunday night in order for them, to be able to get started on. If they wish to begin working on their assignments, those lessons will be posted ahead of time. And clearly, this is for equity issues. We're wanting to make sure that we do not unintentionally create barriers for our students here at Bryan Station High School. So we are in the business of removing as many barriers for opportunity and access as possible. So Canvas lessons will be posted. Ms. Epley, you care to scroll down? There we go. So each class will include assessments. We are standards-based grading, school, high-yield instructional strategies, formative and summative assessments. In person, we have the EOS tracking system that students will, who have not been here before, will learn about on day one that we have discussed throughout the year, but in person, we'll have that EOS tracking system. Students will continue to work from Canvas in both remote learning and in person. One thing with in person, paper will not be exchanged between teacher and students. So I want to make sure that all of our parents know that when you come in person, that their materials will, are very limited in, we are not going to be sharing. We try to do our best with purchasing enough materials for each kid to have, if necessary, their own set of stuff that is not shared among any other students. And again, it enforces the safety protocols for our school. So in person, we'll continue to follow what we've been using, which is our modern classroom project instructional model as much as possible. And that includes, there's direct instruction there, guided practice, collaborative practice, and independent practice. We will regroup to answer questions, extend learning, and assess. Our students that are working remotely will still have those instructional videos and other online resources to view that are built within the lessons of Canvas and their classroom. Additionally, what we have as a support for our students who are working remotely, and on this we say 0 hour, but ultimately it's just remote hour teachers that will be available throughout the day, pending on their planning period, and to be linked in for students to be able to attend and to get a live, a live teacher one-on-one to be able to ask questions throughout the day. So we have multiple teachers. We're definitely 8A heavy because as part of an academy model, we have small learning communities within our academies that that our teachers and admin meet on B days. But we provided a list of teachers, the Zoom link that will be available, and the blocks that the teachers are available, and what subjects that they teach throughout the day. So I want to make sure that if we've chosen, which is absolutely the right as a parent to choose a remote learning option, that it will look different for the next 2 months as compared to what it's looked like up to this point. So zooming in will be very limited to being able to Zoom kids in live during live sessions, because of a lot of, again, a lot of the safety protocols that we are wanting to make sure that we can absolutely take care of contact tracing and enforcing the safety protocols while our kids are in our classroom. But we also want to make sure that parents know that the classes that you have, those teachers are still your child's teachers while they're working remotely. We have provided the in-person live resource throughout the week for our students to be able to access someone live that may not be their teacher for that subject, but is a teacher within that subject. Additionally, we also have our ESS program Monday through Thursday from 4 to 5:30 that we have a link that we will send out and that we have sent out multiple times, that we will share again in order for students to access ESS live help if needed. And again, teachers will still be there for their students. So means of communication via email, talking points, being able to set up, Zooms with your classroom teacher. That is absolutely an option still moving forward. That does not change. For all intents and purposes, the teacher in the classroom is still responsible for students that are on their roster and taking their class, as it relates to providing feedback and lessons and helping support student learning at home. But we want to make sure that you do have supports and extra supports built in if you've chosen the remote learning option as a family for your child. Sick room. The nurse's office will remain open for routine student needs, such as dispensing medication. The sick room here at the Academies of Bryan Station is in our wellness center. Students who have a fever or display COVID symptoms will be supervised by an adult in the wellness center. Families will be contacted to come pick up their children as soon as possible. Parent or guardian will go to the front of the building, which is what we call our vestibule, to complete the checkout process, and staff will then radio or call the wellness center to inform them of the student's release. So you will be instructed to go around to the outside the wellness center so we can get confirmation of what that release will be as we sign students out who are under the weather and not feeling well. And a parent or guardian, again, will drive to the 300 doors to pick the student up. Staff will wait until the visual verification at student ride has arrived before releasing the student. Obviously, that's a safety protocol, and we'll make sure that it's an appropriate, that it's someone that's on the list that has permission to pick up a child. Additionally, so if I'm a parent that has a couple kids here at the school, I'm coming to pick up one, then one who may be showing signs and symptoms, and I'm wanting to take the other child that's in my household, absolutely may do so at that time, and it will be an excused absence. All right, so we are very blessed here at Bryan Station High School with the best Miss Nurse Perry. So there's a couple questions here that we may not be thinking of because we're thinking about a return to in-person. So question one would be like, okay, what do I still need to fill out a medical packet or form for the nurse if my child has a medical condition? Yes, a new packet, any medical form or physician order for medical treatment must be filled out each school year and returned to the nurse. Orders are only valid for one school year, and a parent must also sign for staff to administer any treatment for the student. Question number 2, what do I need to do if my child takes medication at school? A physician order is required for a student to take medication at school, whether it is a daily medication given at school, as needed medication or emergency medication, or any self-carry medication such as an inhaler, ibuprofen, Tylenol, cough drop, etc. Parent also will need to sign a form given authorization for the student to have medication at school. This form must be signed before staff can administer medication to the student. These are things that we haven't thought of yet. We haven't been back in school yet, so we just want to make sure to remind you of such. Last question here, just on a couple questions, just to try to make sure that you all get the information necessary. With only 2 months of school left this year, do we need to send in an updated immunization certificate to school? Yes, anytime your student or your child has a new vaccine, a copy needs to be sent to the nurse to update in Infinite Campus to keep your child compliant. A reminder, your child needs 2 doses of Hep A and a I'm not even going to try to say that right now, but you can see it. Booster at the age of 16. Nurse Perry can get on in a second and correct me, but these are new requirements 2 years ago from the state. Please get your child vaccinated and send in a copy of the certificate when you do so. All right, so I know it's early, but I wanted to talk a little bit about making sure that you all see that there's a summer school interest survey from parents for your child to be able to attend our Summer Ignite program here at the Academies of Bryan Station. And of course, as we are planning getting ready for our plan for summer school, we want to make sure that if you're interested in your child participating in an in-person summer program at BSHS, please take the survey below to express your interest in summer school. Our district has been able to permit us to financially support also our ability to offer summer school in 3 different sessions throughout the summer for intervention, credit recovery, enrichment activities, onboarding for new students that'll be coming to station next fall, and we're just really blessed that we have been able to get the financial support from the district, and it's awesome opportunity, and we hope that many families take advantage of this opportunity that we are providing here at Bryan Station High School. All right, so this is a public facing document. I want to make sure that if you're like, all right, I have a question that needs answered and it's not answered here, there is guidance on isolation, exposure, quarantine, and contact tracing that Fayette County Public Schools have provided. And I mean, it has a lot of information in here regarding quarantine, isolation, contact tracing, a lot of the sick room protocols, etc. Are in this document, and it's an incredible document for our families and community members to be able to have access to, that our district has provided to us. So please, 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 if you have a question regarding any of those items, please click on this and try to find the answer. If you just want the reading material, absolutely use this resource. This is an incredible resource for our families to be able to utilize. So I want to end here on a big thank you with just my presentation here, but I want to also make sure that we're aware of a couple things. One is I want to say thank you to all students and families. It's been a challenging year, and we all know that. We know the last 11 months, almost 12 months, have been an extreme challenge for all of us. We've had to rethink, reimagine, re-envision the way that things have been done. And we've all learned together. We feel very confident about our plan here at Bryan Station High School. We also know that we must show grace to our students. as we navigate the next 2 months of what's remaining in the school year. And I want to make sure that I reinforce the aspect of the safety protocols that we will be enforcing here at Bryan Station. It's important that all parents know, from a contact tracing purposes, that we will absolutely, every place that a student will be at in this building will be documented for contact tracing purposes. Each classroom has a seating chart that will absolutely be able to help us for each class, each block, to identify which students are sitting where, and hopefully we don't have to get into quarantining and contact tracing. But in the unfortunate circumstance that may happen and there is a positive case, we will be going through the seating charts, and we will get that information out to parents without breaking confidentiality laws, to let you know who would need to quarantine, and you would hear from us, directly as a district. So I want to make sure that our families know that we've put every safety protocol that we can think of in place, that we anticipate facing for the next 2 months. But we also know that we're going to have to adjust some things if something just doesn't quite work exactly how we have it on paper, and that's okay. But we really appreciate your support through the last 8 months and just in 11 months, not just 8, but 8 months since I've been here. I know, ideally, as the new executive principal for the Academies of Bryan Station, I didn't anticipate that I wouldn't be able to see kids in my building, on July 1. Although it was through targeted services and extracurricular and co-curricular activities, I was able to meet some kids in our building and on our campuses at events and ball games. And it's just been such a welcoming pride of the North Side. I know what that means. I've heard it. I've seen it in pockets and in different places, and I cannot wait to experience what defending Station and what it means to be part of Station Nation in full effect. And I'm just excited for the opportunity to be able to serve as the executive principal here at Bryan Station High School. And on that note, again, if you have any questions, please submit those in the BSHS Town Hall or call the school if you have any questions or need any clarification on anything. And that concludes my presentation this evening. And hopefully there's some questions that were submitted that we can touch on.
Yes, Mr. Hale. So we have one question so far in the question document.
All right.
A couple more are coming in, so I'll get to those in a second. The first question is, how do students get their schedule of classes with room numbers?
So correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Epley. Schedules should be on Infinite Campus, and you should have the room numbers that are on your schedule if you log into your student account. And if you have submitted your information, I can make certain that we follow up with you to make sure that you know how to log into your Infinite Campus and to access your schedule. So that information is on there. But we've also prepared for students to come in and not know where to go. Some people haven't even been in the building yet, and that's okay, our freshmen and newcomers. And we are working on day one to have some of our student leaders in the building and staff to help students get to where they need to go, definitely at the beginning of the day, and we'll make sure that you know where you're going throughout the day. So we absolutely understand that will happen, and we have a plan in place to help address it. But good question.
Yes, absolutely. And that was correct. You can also locate it on Canvas. If the students log into Canvas, yes, they can see it either in IC or Canvas. The next question is about lunch, and it is, are we going to have permanent assigned seats in the cafeteria, or will we use the QR code system?
Yeah, so the QR code system allows us to identify where students are sitting while they're in the cafeteria. When we're going back and forth and looking at safety protocols, the expectation is going to be, we know that we have to be very mindful about, potential, as much as I think, everybody will get along. And I hope that always happens, but unfortunately we know that that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's conflict. So we want to make sure that, that we have an option for our kids to be able to sit in different seats if necessary. And we also know though that students are creatures of habit, and you like to be around in the same spot. At least that's been my experience as a principal and as an educator. Is we're all creatures of habit, and again, unless it's some sort of unfortunate circumstance, most of the time we sit in the same areas and we kind of do the same things. But what we are wanting to make sure is that we have a healthy and safety protocol for lunchtime, and that we are able to document our seating spot with our QR code. And you will get that opportunity early on in on the first day of school to sit in a spot in a location that you feel comfortable sitting in. But our expectation is for you to make sure that you log in. And we also have a backup plan for it. So if I can't log into a QR code, we have a plan to walk you through it as a student on day one to make sure that that you're very comfortable with being able to document that location that you are sitting at. And we have staff in the cafeteria that will absolutely help assist for you to get that information uploaded.
Sorry, I was reading through some of the questions that were coming through. For those of you who couldn't see the link because it was covered by Mr. Hale's video, I just added it to the bottom of the screen, and it is bit.ly/BSHS Town Hall. bit.ly/BSHS Town Hall. And then I do have a question while we wait for a couple more questions to come in. I think probably for Nurse Perry. This one is, how will students be identified as medically approved or not for wearing a mask from others? So
I can answer that. We have to have a mask waiver if they are approved to not wear a mask, and that has to be signed by their physician. So we would have a log of who is not wearing mask or not. There would be very few of those. I hope that answers the question enough.
thank you. Give me just a second. A couple more questions are coming through.
Muted. I do want to make sure that that again, if you're submitting questions, we'll get to as many as we can. If it's a unique situation, we want to make sure that we have your contact information so we can reach back out to you for any clarification. If it's a general question that we may not have an answer for, that's okay. We will get an answer for you, and we will post it in a location to where you can go find it, either on the school website. Send it out through multiple means of communication just to make sure that you get the answers to the questions that you may have.
Okay, I have one about mask. So we have said that students will pull down their mask to eat. This person wants to know if that is better than completely removing the mask in order to decrease the possibility of students dropping mask on the floor, and if they should send an extra mask with their student to school in case it does fall on the floor.
All right, Ms. Epp, I want to go back. So it's a couple part question. So I want to make sure I'm able to get each part. So the first part was?
So the first is it better to just pull your mask down and eat rather than completely removing it? And should they send extra masks with their student?
Nurse Perry, do you know the specifics of it? If there's an actual benefit of pulling a mask down versus removing it?
There's not really specifics, but it's, you don't want to touch the mask. You want to avoid touching it as much as possible. So it might be better just to take it off, fold it in to where the inside is not touching outside surfaces. That would be an option, and lay it beside you or on the table, or you could put it in a little bag, have a Ziploc bag to put it in, or a brown paper bag is what we really recommend for storing the mask. And I highly recommend you bring a couple extra masks in their backpack or whatever to school.
Yes, and to follow up on what Nurse Perry said there as it relates to mask and extra mask, I also want to make sure that we all are aware that they have to follow our dress code here at station. So yes, absolutely, I would recommend if you have the means to send extra masks with your child, do so. If not, that's okay. We have extra masks here at school. So if something would happen, and I mean, like right now, I look over here, I have a few extra masks here that I wear throughout the day in exchange, and probably my favorite mask, the Defender's mask. So I would recommend absolutely bring an extra mask, but if something would happen, we do have masks. Our district did provide enough mask and PPE for all of our students here to have some replacements. If something would come up throughout the day, we will make sure that your child gets a mask.
Okay. Will students get a new ID and lanyard?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that'll be on the first day of school in their flex class. So they'll get it immediately the first class that they're in of the day.
Good question.
Nurse Perry, this question is for you. Is it okay to fax the self-medication authorization forms?
Yes.
Okay. And then to the person.
And I can, you want me to provide that number if they need it?
Yes.
Fax number is 859-381-4939. And that's 859-381-4939.
Perfect. Mr. Hale, we have a question about if there will be any special precautions or protocols to keep children that are not in mass separated from other students.
Yes, and the short answer there would be yes. You know, we first and foremost, we're going to again, like Nurse Perry said, she will absolutely be working with the families that receive those exemptions, and then we will look as a school exactly what designated areas in the classroom that a student may be able to sit in order to if they have that exemption for mask, and making sure that we are able to safely provide as much space between a student who may have permission medically to not have a mask and a student who is wearing a mask. And so again, it goes back to being really careful and making sure that we wear our mask as long as we didn't have a medical reason why we could not wear a mask in order, or an exemption at all times. So. And we anticipate those being very few exemptions.
As far as their mask, we have a question about if they can leave the mask hanging by their lanyard while they eat. I would say yes, that's an option, along with what Nurse Perry just covered about folding it up or putting it in a baggie or back in your bag.
Yes, if you attach it to the lanyard, I would do the same thing, fold it in to where the outside is touching the shirt so that the inside is touching itself, if that makes sense.
Nurse Perry, this one is also for you. If a child needs to use their inhaler, will there be a specific area in the classroom for the student to use the inhaler, or can the student anticipate needing to go to a designated area like the nurse's office?
The nurse's office will be for any situation like that, any well kind of visit versus, injuries, like that kind of thing. The sick room would be for anything else. Now, if they needed their inhaler, just if it was exercise induced, or, they need it because they've got allergies this time of year, they could use it in the classroom. They would probably be just like if they were eating in the classroom, they would keep their distance 6 feet or more away from other students by pulling their mask off, or they could step outside in the hall and use their inhaler, or if they needed to, they could also come to my office and I can, observe and make sure that they are okay using their inhaler. All are options.
Thank you. Mr. Hale, this one is for you. Are we allowed to change from virtual to in-person or in-person to virtual anytime, or do you have limits to changing that? I'll ask that question first, then I'll ask the second part.
Okay, yeah, so you do have the option. You've had it up to this point, and even in the next several days, that communication went out that if you are wanting to change, that you need to email our registrar, and that is amy.sommer, so amy.sommer, SOMMER, @fit.kyschools.us. That was also sent out through IC Messenger to our families. Obviously there are some potential risk in being able to just, jump back and forth. There will be a timeline for when that needs to be decided by. Obviously from our first day, if you are not sure of if you've chosen in-person or remote, it should be on your Infinite Campus as you log in, and it should identify if you're an in-person or remote student. Hopefully you all recognize that we've had to prepare for the in-person students physically in our building from a safety standpoint. We've prepared for a certain number of kids in each classroom. Our teachers have done a fabulous job of working on getting the rooms ready for the students that we have as in-person. It is easier on our end for students to come from in-person to remote versus from remote to in-person because, again, all of those contact tracing pieces and maintaining social distance as much as possible definitely helps if we go from in-person to remote versus from remote to in-person. What we're looking at is after we allow a grace period with students and families to be able to decide if they are wanting to go in-person or remote, then once there's a grace period on figuring out which one is best for you, if you're the student listening to this, or which one's best for your child, if you're a parent or guardian listening to this, and what we will expect is, with few exemptions, that we maintain that calendar for several weeks. We're looking at grading periods to allow our teachers to be able to monitor and prepare for students to come back to in-person or to go remotely. And again, I want to go back. If you are remote and you desire to come in person, the quicker you can get that information to us, the better it is for us to be able to prepare and have enough time to make sure that we are ready for you to come in our classrooms and also, our lunchroom and cafeteria area. So yes, you do have an option of being able to go from one to the other, but no, it will be very limited on being able to go back and forth, and that is not recommended for safety reasons in order for us to be able to prepare for you coming in our classroom and to give our teachers some time to be able to provide the world-class education that they do and that we do here at Station, allowing us to have that opportunity to plan for such numbers in person or remote.
Okay, there's a question that I'm going to take really quickly. How can money be added to students' cafeteria account if the goal is to minimize touching paper, and can checks still be sent in with the student? We are lucky at Bryan Station to be a Title I school, and all of our student lunches are paid for. They are free. So there's no need to send in money or checks for the accounts. All the student will have to do is scan their ID to track that they are receiving a lunch, and breakfast is the same way. And as of this moment, that is the last question.
And Ms. Hapley, what we can do as well, if we can work out with our technology gurus that I know we have here, to be able to provide this bit.ly out, through multiple means of communication, in order that if you don't have a question now as a student or a parent, you can submit a question here in the next little bit, in order to maybe receive an answer at that time, so we can get an answer for you to help clear up any misconception or misunderstanding, or just information that you just need to to have in order to make to help ease your mind coming back to in person.
Yes, we can definitely get that up, and we will make sure we follow up with everyone. We have a question about ACT. The ACT in April, will it be paper or electronic? And if electronic, will the student need to take the Chromebook?
So our ACT plan, our backs have been fabulous, and that's our building assessment coordinator. So Miss Belding and Miss Burke have been awesome in preparing for our ACT test. I will make sure that if you submit that information, that we get all the details to you, and we'll get them to you as soon as possible, in order to make sure that you know which options that you have and what we are doing here at Station, and we'll get that information to you as soon as possible.
And follow up on that, just it is likely that it will be electronic, and we will make sure to communicate that, but the students will take it on the Chromebooks if it is done that way. There have been lots of changes to ACT just in the last few weeks, because we, as soon as we found out we were coming back to school, there had to be some adjustments made. So we will make sure that all of that is communicated. So Mr. Hale, someone is asking about PE and gym classes, what those will look like with students wearing masks.
They will be different. They will be different. So PE and gym class, our PE department have put a lot of thought into how we will set up our gymnasium for PE classes. We do have protocols that that we must follow as it relates to students being in our gymnasium and PE, just as we do in every other classroom in the building. We do have to be able to account for contact tracing. We do have to be able to account for social distancing. So we'll definitely look different for students in PE, excuse me. But, so from a PE standpoint, we do have to follow safety protocols. We will follow safety protocols, and we have to make sure we can contact trace. So you will still be wearing your mask. We do have space in our bleachers if we need to spread out in order to work on some items through Canvas, our LMS, and also our PE department is trying to be very creative in how we could still have some physical activity while also following the protocols that we are required to follow.
Right. The next question is about remote learners. Can teachers Zoom with students who are in remote learning during their planning hours or after school hours?
So can they? There is an option for them to be able to. Now, our teachers also have requirements during certain plannings throughout the week that absolutely take up a lot of the time. In our small learning communities and our PLCs, we have a lot of different work that takes place throughout the week. There will be times when your teacher will be able to Zoom with you during the day and also after school. So that's where, when I was talking earlier about the remote learning options, not just if you need someone like right now, this second, and is there someone available for you to go to, but also your teacher is still your teacher. Like they do a fabulous job. They've built those relationships with you the best that they can, not just this year, but in previous years if you've had them for other classes. So our teachers have been great. They've been fabulous. They've adjusted to the different world that we live in now. And so absolutely, there are possibilities for that to happen. Depending on the teacher's planning period and what other priorities, are going on during that time as well. Obligations, I guess I should say, but it would be important for you to maintain that line of communication with your teacher and finding out when they could be able to work with you.
Okay, the next question is also about virtual learning. If a student is Spanish immersion, can the student do virtual learning and still be in the Spanish immersion program?
Yes, we're not going to limit anyone, who's remote learning. There are some challenges with that though, right? So with the Spanish immersion program itself, and you have the verbal piece, the back and forth communication, we know that will be a challenge in a remote setting. I have a lot of faith in our Spanish immersion program teachers. They're just like all of our teachers are fabulous. We will work on plans to try to help support our SIP students that are working remotely. So yes, you will still be in Spanish immersion. Even if you choose remote, that does not change. But to not identify the challenge of that back and forth language piece would be being dishonest. I mean, we know that that's going to be a challenge, but our teachers will work hard on making sure that we can do that as much as possible. So to help support you while you're working remotely.
All right, so we had somebody ask if the desk will be clean between classes, and will they be clean at the beginning of each class?
Yes, so the safety protocols that we have in place, so between each class, our desk and commonly touched areas will be sprayed and wiped down. We do have videos, demonstration videos that we'll be sending out as soon as possible that show what that process looks like. Our teachers have a huge responsibility, not just teaching, but they also take pride in making sure that the safety protocols are followed while at school. Part of that is cleaning of the desk and cleaning of the high surface touched areas. The students can assist if they want to help a teacher out, because as you can imagine, pending the number of kids that are in the class will depend on how much spraying and wiping that has to take place. Now, the students cannot spray anything, but they can help wipe and help the teacher out to help speed up and expedite the process. So we do have plans for that, and a demonstration of that will be available really soon because we've created videos for our students and our families to be able to see the process.
And those videos are available right now on the Station Studios YouTube page that you are viewing this live presentation on. So after you finish watching this presentation, you could access those videos as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Get on that. Get on the Vine Station YouTube and watch those videos. A lot of good information on there.
And right now, any other questions are ones that we need to follow up individually with parents.
Okay.
I'm refreshing and do not see any others right now.
All right, and we will follow up with the parents that have submitted questions, and we will get the information to you as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining us this evening and taking time out of your evening to be part of the presentation and the the return to in-person school. So excited about it.
All right, we'll be signing off. Thank you, Defender families.
Have a good evening.